People often say that our grandparents made it just fine on one income, and that's true. But you know what else is true? The numbers were very different back then. Still, they did have something that many families have lost today: practical, old-fashioned skills. So today, I am sharing 20 forgotten skills from the 1900s that helped save families money. And while we talk, we're going to step into a little of that old-fashioned life here at home, and you're going to get a peek into what's really happening here at our homestead. Making homemade bagels in the kitchen, quilting with my girls, and I'll show you a little bit of the blacksmithing projects one of my boys has started. When we talk about the way our grandparents lived, sometimes people assume the lesson is just, well, they were tougher than we are, and they were smarter, and they were more frugal. And well, a lot of that might be well and true the case. The actual truth is a little bit more complicated and deeper than that. Yeah, they did have incredible skills. My grandmothers rocked. They were amazing. But they were also living in a very different economic reality. For example, in 1960, the average home in America cost around, don't fall over here, but $12,000. Today, the average home price is over $400,000. In the 1970s, the average new car cost about $3,500. Today, the average new car is around $48,000. Okay, college tuition, we won't even go there. Okay, but we're talking a different landscape. Okay, grocery prices, for example, have changed. In 1950, the average American family spent about 30% of their income on food, but food itself was much cheaper to wages and housing. So today, families spend less percentage-wise on groceries, but housing, healthcare, and insurance have exploded, which makes the entire budget feel very tight. So yes, our grandparents had skills we can absolutely learn from, but it's also fair to acknowledge that the math of life has changed. What used to work easily on one income sometimes takes creativity, sacrifice, and intentional living today. And that's really why I think some of these forgotten skills are definitely worth revisiting. Not because we're trying to recreate the past or live in the past and be all nostalgic, but because some of these can really help families navigate the reality that we're living in now. Oh, one really interesting statistic that I'm going to share with you is if the minimum wage had kept up with productivity since the 1960s, economists estimate it would be over $20 an hour today, not $7.25, which is the federal minimum wage. Okay, we're going to get the number one tip, which is the most overused one, out of the way right now because I know you're waiting for it, so let's just get it over with. Cook from scratch. For most of history, there was no such thing as convenience food. Bread was made at home, soups started with bones, desserts were simple and homemade. Cooking from scratch was not a hobby, it was just life, and it saved a tremendous amount of money. Number two is using every scrap of food. Nothing was wasted for the previous generations back in the day. Leftover roast became soup. The bones were boiled again. Stale bread became bread pudding. Vegetable scraps became broth. I learned that trick from my grandma. They knew how to stretch food in ways that many people have forgotten today. I see people put so much food in the trash that would make the most luxurious soup. A third one is baking bread at home. It is so much cheaper. I know. I see all of these women making fun of the bread making women who are making bread at home. But the truth is that it is cheaper. Flour, water, yeast, salt can feed a family for pennies. Today, bread can cost $5 or $6 a loaf, but homemade bread, still one of the cheapest foods you can make. Now, number 4 is coming up, and by the way, these tips get juicier as we move through them, so don't go anywhere. But I want to address one thing here. Have you noticed that everybody these days doesn't seem to be as healthy as people did 50, 60, 70 years ago. Well, my personal opinion is that one of the reasons for this is because there are so many additives in the food that we eat. But more than that, there's a deeper reason. Did you know 100 years ago, the food packed more nutrition? Look it up for yourself. Food today is not as nutritious as it once was. One of the ways that our family combats that is we make room in our budget for a non-negotiable.
This actually brings me to the sponsor who made today's video possible, Mary Ruth's. Before Mary Ruth's, I was losing so much hair. It wasn't growing for about 15 years this was going on. Really, ever since I had my third child, my hair just changed and wasn't what it once was. My hair has just been getting consistently worse and worse. And after perimenopause hit, whoa, it was taking such a toll on my hair that it was actually making me cry regularly. Last August, I started taking the Mary Ruth's Liquid Morning Hair Growth. I love the dragon fruit melon and the peach mango. And I noticed a difference within a month of taking them, a noticeable difference. After a couple months, a big difference. Now it's been several months and look at my hair. So this formula was created not just to support daily wellness, but also hair growth, nails, and skin. It includes Lestrivia, which is clinically shown to help grow thicker, fuller hair in as early as 3 weeks. It also helps improve skin texture and reduce fine lines. It has all 8 B vitamins, including 10,000 micrograms of biotin in a highly absorbable form, plus methylated folate, which is really important, vitamin A for vision and cell reproduction, and vitamin D3, which supports sleep, stress levels, and bone health. And it's a liquid. It tastes good. I actually enjoy taking this. I really hated taking vitamins before. In fact, they made me gag. So since this tastes good and I enjoy taking it, I actually take it consistently. Everything is linked below with my code. You can get 30% off the website all month or 20% off Amazon all month. And if you shop March 22nd through 31st on Amazon, there are 20% site-wide sales stacks with my 20% code, which works out to about 36% total savings. That is the best price. My code does stay active even outside the sale though. So if you've been struggling with thinning hair, low energy, or you just dread taking your vitamins like I used to, this might be worth trying. Check out the description and pinned comments for the links.
Number 4 is making do and making over. So instead of throwing things away, people repurpose them. So I had this one grandma, and she was a little bit more upscale, a little more, I guess you would say, high maintenance. She was my step grandma. And my grandfather, he was telling me one day, we got in the car, he was the absolute opposite. We got into a car one day and something wasn't working. There was a button that wasn't working on the dashboard. And he muttered, "Your grandma thinks it's time to throw away the car and get a new one, but we'll just fix it. We can fix it." That's what I try to tell her. I just thought it was cute. But seriously, fixing things. So back in the day, flour sacks became clothing, and old shirts became quilts, and jeans became quilts. Like the overalls, you could turn them into quilts. Have you ever seen those jean quilts that are made out of old overalls and pockets? Also, jars were saved and reused. There was a creativity that came from necessity, and it was beautiful. Tip number 5, gardening. Back in the day, a garden wasn't a lifestyle trend. It wasn't for an Instagram post. It was part of feeding your family. And even today, so many families still know this and do this. A small backyard garden can produce potatoes, beans, tomatoes, and greens that can lower your grocery bill. Number 7 is food preservation. I love this one. I have been doing this since I was a teenager. I absolutely love canning, drying, fermenting, root cellaring. Now, these were all normal household skills in my grandmother and my great-grandmother's generations. And this way, food grown in the summer could last all winter. A pantry shelf full of jars. It meant security and stability. Number 7 is cooking simple meals. Today, we tend to think we need so many things to make a meal taste good. And there are some meals that you do in order for them to taste good. But meals can be made very simply and quite deliciously. Beans, soup, bread, potatoes. And back in the day, not every meal had multiple dishes or elaborate ingredients, but families still ate well. Number 8, buying in season. So our ancestors understood seasons. Strawberries in the summer, apples in the fall, root vegetables in the winter and into the spring. We still have some onions that we're using that we grew in our garden last year. Buying foods when they're abundant usually means you're buying them a little bit cheaper. Number 9 is keeping chickens. Many households kept a few chickens for eggs back in the day. In fact, there was a period of time where, wasn't it during the war? Correct me if I'm wrong, older friends out there that are watching. Wasn't there a period of time where you were required to keep a chicken or some chickens in the backyard? These are little small homestead skills that end up paying for themselves. Number 10 is something that I do not know why, but I love doing this. And you probably know this if you've been here a while, but hanging laundry to dry. There's something so peaceful about putting laundry out on the line. I know dryers are convenient, and sometimes they're important to have, especially if you live in a state where you get a lot of rain or a lot of freezing snow. But clotheslines used to be the norm in the warmer seasons. They can save on electricity, and they're also gentler on clothing, which makes the clothes last longer. Next tip is homemade cleaning products. People used to clean their homes long before there were the aisles full of specialty smelly good cleaners, vinegar, baking soda, and soap. Pretty simple, but they got the jobs done. Number 12 is a hand-me-down culture. Children used to wear clothes passed down from siblings, cousins, and neighbors. If I'm being honest, mine actually do. We still do that. But this used to be normal for everybody and expected. Today there can be pressure to buy new things constantly, but families used to see sharing as not only wisdom, but a gift. Number 13 is cooking one-pot meals. So recently I made a one-pot dish. It was from the Depression era. I will put it in another video, so definitely look for that video. But it was called a poor man's meal, I think. And it's essentially hot dogs and potatoes. That's it. Kids loved it. But stews, casseroles, soups, they're all used to be common because they were economical. One pot could feed a whole family and stretch ingredients beautifully. This next tip 14, is keeping a pantry. Now, if you're completely lost on this, I do want to tell you really briefly about my courses. I have some homemaking courses and they range in prices. You can get my big signature homemaking course for $147 right now. And in that course, I teach all kinds of homemaking skills and frugal living skills and mental health homemaking skills, as well as how to stock a pantry if you're starting with nothing, and even if you're just starting with very little. But back in the day, many homes kept the staples stocked all the time. So back in the day, the staples would have looked maybe a little different than they do today, and it might have been a little easier. Back in the day, it would have been flour, beans, rice, sugar, and lard. But I will tell you, when you have those basics on hand, you can cook almost anything without running to the store. Number 17, bartering with neighbors. Back in the day, people traded skills and goods, and I love this concept. So you can trade eggs for vegetables, sewing for childcare, firewood for labor. Community was part of the economy once upon a time. Number 17 is sewing. So in this video, you'll see that I am making a quilt with my girls. Back in the day, clothing wasn't disposable. People patched jeans, they replaced buttons, darned socks, altered garments to fit growing children. One dress might last years because someone knew how to repair it. So sewing is an essential skill that's been forgotten. I do have some sewing videos over on my Patreon, but sewing is such a simple skill that you can teach yourself how to do that can save you money in the long run. Number 18, making homemade gifts. I think this is always so much fun to do. Christmas time, we love to do this. But birthdays and holidays, they don't need to mean expensive presents. You can make treats. You can sew items or hand make gifts that are meaningful and affordable. Number 19 is living below their means. Debt was avoided whenever possible to the older generations. Families often waited and saved before buying things, and I know that in this day and age, it's not always possible to stay out of debt. I mean, for some people, it's the difference between having a home and not. But patience can protect you from financial stress. So I think there is a lesson to be learned in trying to avoid debt as much as possible. The last tip is contentment. Now, this might be the most important one. There was a time where we had been living for years on end in a tiny, tiny little home that was torn apart, run down, needed repairs, was difficult to even clean because of the condition it was in. And we were stuck in this situation for over 12 years with a growing family. So we had fit our family that had grown to a size of 7 at the time. So that's 5 kids and 2 adults. And we were fitting all in less than 1,000 square feet of space. It was not my favorite time in our family's history. It was hard. But the one thing that got me through for months and then years was gratitude. It used to be easier because back in the day, people didn't have the capability or the ability to share and compare their lives to thousands of others online. It did make it easier to focus on just caring for what they had and being happier for what the Lord had given them and their family and the work in front of them. And there was a quiet dignity in that kind of life. So if you need some help with this, what I recommend you do is what I did. This is what worked for me whenever I got into the really dark seasons of my early homemaking journey back 10, 15, and 20 years ago. I would go from room to room and just thank God for this space. And then I would clean the house, even if it was uncleanable. I mean, literally, we had cardboard in places and everything was just gutted and torn apart, but I would still clean it. And then I didn't have just a rundown dump. I had a clean rundown home. So it did help. In closing, the truth is that many of the skills that I just shared didn't disappear because they stopped working. They disappeared because convenience replaced them. But in times when the economy feels uncertain, when grocery bills are rising, when families are trying to make one income stretch, these old skills can start to look pretty wise again. Our grandparents, they didn't have modern convenience, but they did have something incredibly valuable. Practical wisdom for living with less, and sometimes the way forward is just taking a peek into the past.